Hi, I am Stu Friedman, and I am thrilled to welcome you to the first in our series of interviews with alumni of the Total Leadership course that I taught at Wharton between 2001 and 2024. I am very pleased today to welcome our very first guest, Jess Loeb, who took the course back in 2019 when she was a student in the executive MBA program in California. She is the director of engineering at PlayStation, has been in the gaming world for 20 years, and is the mother of twins who are about to turn two. Jess, welcome.
Thank you, Sue. Glad to be here.
So tell us what is happening in your life that you'd like to share with your fellow Wharton Total Leadership alumni.
Yeah, I've been actually relying really heavily on some of the tools that I learned in the class and the documentation that I wrote as a part of the class to kind of help reorient in this new postpartum, new role at work, new set of identities that have kind of come together over the past couple years. One of the challenges that has been a big struggle about kind of retuning into self, retuning into the parts of my identity that have kind of felt further away as I've kind of journeyed into this new world of being a parent and being a working parent and being a twin mom and all of the things that come with it is trying to figure out like who the heck was I? Who am I supposed to be? And how does that translate into like what the heck I'm doing now?
Wow. So how have you used what we did in our work together 6 years ago in these recent challenges or questions that you've been facing?
Yeah, I mean, kind of because we did such a thorough job of like documenting everything in a single Google Doc throughout the course, it has been really nice to be able to refer back to that in moments where I haven't felt at all myself, or I've been struggling with kind of understanding how old Jess might have approached a problem or a work challenge
Wait,
or
so let me jump in there. Old Jess,
yeah, yeah.
who is she? May I ask? New Jess?
The version of me that took your course in 2019, the version of Jess that I kind of got to tune into myself, find clarity with, and start to move through the world in the way that was more authentic to my values and
Mhm.
my life.
And and how is new Jess or current Jess different, may I ask?
Uh, I think current Jess, one of the things that I've been kind of discovering lately is that kind of through the postpartum journey, trying to figure out how to put my life back together now that we're getting enough sleep. Having kids, I think in general, is a huge disruptor to all of the routines that we build ourselves. All of the signals that our bodies send us are now commingled with signals coming from these little babies that are crying and laughing and kind of giving us new input and data. And so putting it all together and understanding how to show up for them, but also how to show up for myself and my coworkers and everything. Has been a real challenge, especially with kind of as the birth giving parents, all of the hormones that your body's flooded with, the weight gain, the pain, I can't speak to what a normal pregnancy would be like, but a high risk pregnancy, even one where things worked out okay, and by high risk standards, it was pretty uneventful. We had some extra monitoring, we had some extra ultrasounds, we had a growth restriction that had to be monitored, but I didn't have to make massive diet changes. I didn't have to. I mean, I was sick the whole time. It
Mm.
sucked, but kind of going through that and having that consume your world for a while necessarily, right? You've got beings inside of you that are growing and about to come into the world, and it does change things. And so, kind of moving through that, you feel a sense of like disconnect from the person you were before, the way you
Yeah.
lived your life before. And so, finding harmony again with all of the new signals has really been like a 2 year journey that I'm finally starting to like get a feel for again and be able
Mm.
to actually listen to signals within my body. I think after a traumatic birth experience, going into over, 26, 28 hours of labor,
Wow.
um, and then doing the twin birth thing and trying to figure it out. We had one go to the NICU, that like internal signal of like, I need to be with my daughter, but also my daughter is here. It's something that I can't really describe or put into words, but that kind of like huge, like visceral signal can definitely cause like, I think lasting impact when it comes to like listening to signals with your body and learning to filter through them. Um,
So
and so
how how did that experience change how you saw yourself in your, non-mother roles, like at work, with your friends, perhaps?
mhm.
What what changed, and and how did you react? How did you adjust? How did you think about what was changing in light of how perhaps your values might have been shifting?
Yeah. I think for me, because during pregnancy it became this all-consuming high-risk activity,
Hmm.
kind of transitioning out of it and into new motherhood where twin parenthood is a massive juggling act.
Hmm.
There are more babies than hands. Sometimes it feels like I have eight children. Sometimes, um,
Eight.
I mean, it sometimes it feels like there are way too many children for like the type of activity and just kind of getting through the day.
Hmm.
And so for me, like the thing that I noticed about myself when I wasn't in that like parenting, caregiving mode was I was just drained. I was
Mm.
exhausted. I was not, there wasn't room in that time period of my life for those independent identities. Like my friends, would show up and be supportive and um, did, everything they could to make sure that I knew that they wanted to spend time with me and that they supported me.
Hmm.
And that was awesome. But in terms of like who I was and how I felt like a shell of myself. I felt like,
Hmm.
the candy wrapper where the candy had kind of come out and people were excited about the candy.
But throwing away the wrapper?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, but your friends were there.
They were. They were.
So so what did that mean for you? And again, how did that shape like your thinking about yourself in the maternal role, but also in your work role?
Yeah, yeah. So with work, it was tough to separate out this like parent brain from work brain. Because this parent brain was all brand new, and I couldn't quite figure out how to set it aside when going back to work at first. And so
Hmm.
for me, it was definitely like really helpful to have a lot of the literature that I'd left myself around like, okay, who is professional Jess or who is professional Jess trying to be? Um,
Mm.
and being able to refer not just back to the total leadership exercises, but also I had left myself a really long handoff document for maternity leave. I said, hey, here is what I'm
Handoff
working on.
document
Yeah,
from yourself to yourself or to your
from
people.
to my people, but I used it to actually like plug myself back in.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, like here's how I was thinking about things before I went on maternity leave. Here was like my strategy. Here was what, I deemed really important. And
Hmm.
I was able to go back and kind of figure out what had happened while I was gone, figure out where things stood. I told my people before I left, like, hey, there are a couple things that we can't fix. Hiring bad people and losing good people are among those things.
Mm.
And pretty much everything else we can figure out when I get back. And here's what I think about all of the projects we're doing. Here's what I think are important, meetings and vectors of communication for things. Here's who I think you should work with and be involved with. But
Hmm.
ultimately, like, these are the things that I think are going to be really challenging to fix if mistakes are made on these fronts. And so,
So
um,
what do you think was most important and most effective in what you did in managing that transition process?
I think the most effective thing that I did was really detailing out all of the ways that I thought about projects. Like I
Mhm.
left my team enough context to be able
Mm.
to try and keep going in my absence to be able to keep things moving.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Nobody was ever going to do things the exact same way as me, and that was okay, right? The important thing is that the things that our stakeholders expect from us as a department and as a team, my team had enough information to
Hmm.
uh, move in that direction, right? They're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to reach specific points and hit specific deliverables with everything involved, but they have the communication, they
Hmm.
have a communication plan, they have kind of a document detailing the thought behind what really matters about this, why it matters
Yes.
to us, why it matters to them,
So
as
so
a
crucial
way.
to say, excuse me, but just to underscore what you did there as a kind of leadership move to know what was important to you, to your people, and to be able to express that to them in ways that they could use it. Now, when you came back, what was different? How did you manage that transition process?
Yeah, when I came back, there was an adjustment period. I kind
Hmm.
of came back, and there were some people that were really thriving, some th projects that had moved a really long way, like
How long was the
probably.
period of uh, absence?
I was out for a total of about 6 months.
Okay.
I had to go on leave before giving birth,
Hmm.
for several weeks towards the end, where I was trying to work through the pregnancy and just so uncomfortable and miserable, like I couldn't really.
So you
Uh,
were out for about 6 months. What what was the most important thing that think you did looking back on that return as a leader in your work role to to affect uh in a positive way so far as you could your return and what it meant for your colleagues.
yeah, I think I think really that like stakeholder handoff with my team, with my
Yeah.
manager, and underscoring the importance of what our like external entity stakeholders needed, right? The
Hmm.
teams that needed things from us that weren't specific people that you couldn't just go talk to and get clarification, but had to like grok a bunch of documents and presentations,
Grok.
meetings, and
Did you say grok?
I
Because
did.
that's a word I know because I read Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. And maybe everybody that you hang out with uses that term, but I just wanted to stop for a second,
Yeah,
define it
fair.
for those who don't know that word. Um, so having being systematic about
Mhm.
expectations before and after was really important. Jess, we're going to have to wrap this up in a minute or two. I have two more questions for you. One is looking back on this experience of high risk and maintaining high impact. What's the most important lesson you've learned about yourself as a leader in your life?
It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to go back and learn from others and from yourself. And I think for me, like I have been kind of struggling to like tap into those internal signals, that intuition that I spent so long developing over many years on how to be the best professional I can and also, flourish in my personal life. And so I think like learning how to like learn from myself and rehone those signals and be able to trust my own judgment has been kind of the biggest lesson, and putting together enough context and enough information around what is important to me at a given point in time. In this case, before I went on leave,
Hmm.
really set me up for success with that.
Staying attuned to what really matters to you.
Yes.
Okay, last question then is now looking to the future. What stands out as a very important or salient hope for what you want to see happen in your world?
Yeah, I'm really excited about getting back to experimenting, especially within myself. Um, I've been really really focusing on healing some of the damage to my body and some of the trauma that I went through along the way to have these two happy, healthy, wonderful babies that are really just the joy of my world. And so figuring out how to experiment within myself to add even more to this new ecosystem that involves these two new lives and also a great new career opportunity with a team that I really value and trust, and kind of make it all work for me. But right now, that means experimenting on me.
Well, Jess, we're going to leave it there. And my hope is that before too long, we'll have another one of these conversations and find out about some of those experiments and what you discover. Jess Loeb, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Stu.